coming down.
No, so we were talking about how like it's kind of cool that he passed like just before your birthday because it kind of bonds you with him. So my dad passed on October 22nd. 2022 is my number,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And then we had his celebration of life on November 17th, which is my cousin's favorite number.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it just kind of worked out that way. It wasn't
Yeah.
like something that we planned it to be that way.
Right.
It was just kind of like, hey, they got this Friday available and it's on the 17th. So it's just kind of like this weird thing. So he was my cousin's godfather, you know. So like just like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, numerology and things like that. Like there's just like these little things that we kind of like look into and stuff, and like we kind of just like, I don't know why we always have important like little things like that. It's all superstitious kind of stuff. But no, yeah, it's interesting how like things like that, they just bond you to them. And then so my dad was killed in a car accident, and the dude that killed him was sentenced, and he was sentenced on the 22nd.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's just like little shit like that. Like I mean, again, you could be like, whatever, that's all coincidence and stuff like that. But for us,
I'm not into that though. Like,
yeah,
you know, I believe, numbers matter, numerology is real. Like, I'm
right,
into it. So I wouldn't, I don't brush any of that stuff off.
yeah,
You know what I
it's one
mean?
of those things that like, so being Cuban and stuff like that, there's always a bunch of like different like superstitions that you don't do and things like that. And like on on New Year's, you got this thing of 12 grapes where we eat 12 grapes, one for each month of the year to kind of like bring you good luck and stuff like that. Just things like that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Did it have to be a special grape?
I don't know the specifics of it, but we would just always do it. It'd be a cup of 12 grapes. I feel like sometimes it was mostly red grapes, but sometimes we do the green grapes. But yeah, it's just a cup of 12 grapes, and it's every a grape for each month, and then it's to wish you luck. So just things like that, you know, that have to do with like numbers and different things like that, and all kinds of things how they come together. So we were always been like really, you know, superstitious and like focused on things like that. So it's just crazy to see like hear things like that where you're just kind of like, man, like how those things bond you in a specific way, you know, and it's just kind of something you take with you,
No,
you know,
definitely.
all with life, where it's like a little memento to remind you of them and make you remember how life was with them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Do you do you find yourself like as a father now, like having like parenting moments where you're just like, ah man, I wonder if I wish I could talk to my dad about how he would parent this or how I should parent this or what like, or is there any aspect of life where he influences you still to where you're just like, man, I'd love to hear what he have to say about this.
Man, to be honest, I'm I'm so sad about my father never really being able to interact with my kids.
Yeah,
Um, he died when my oldest was 1, and like I said, my youngest was still in the womb.
right,
He has so much joy about my kids.
right,
You know what I mean? Uh, he was so in love with my daughter, and he was so excited for my second daughter. So when I think about parenting, and I think about it in relation to my kids, and then how my dad, I'm always thinking of him on some what would he do, but I'm always trying to imitate a lot of things
yeah,
that he did as a dad with me. Um, I definitely also try to change things,
Uh-huh.
maybe, that he did with me.
Yeah.
I try to go the other way.
Right.
Uh, but also, my dad was raising a boy. He was
Right.
raising me, so I always take that into consideration too. I'm raising 2 girls
Right.
right now. So my dad with me definitely was a different relationship that I have with my daughters just for the simple fact, like, my dad was like a he could be tough at
Right.
times.
Right.
And not that I can't be tough with my girls, but it's a different type of tough.
And a different response.
Different
Yeah.
response, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Was he like that with your sister too?
yeah, he was, but, I was also my sister is, 16
Right.
years older than me, so I wasn't really there
Right.
for a lot of
For
that
the grown up.
parenting.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I would see things when she was, like, a 20-year-old, 20 she's still at
Right.
that age, 21, 22, you're still I mean, to a certain extent, like, you
Yeah. You're
still
still relying on your parents'
yeah.
advice and stuff.
So I would
Yeah.
see how they interact then, but I wasn't around for, her childhood.
Right.
Um, but even with my niece though, because he had a big hand in raising my niece, my sister's first child. She lived with us a lot. So my dad was, definitely a father figure for my niece, one of them father figures. And, he was definitely really stern with her too.
Yeah.
But he also showed a different type of affection than he could show with me, and I understand that,
Yeah.
being his granddaughter to his son, like, he loved all over his granddaughter, it's things like that, and, um, I definitely see a lot of myself in him when it
Uh-huh.
comes to parenting. I was like, my dad would've, like, I got that from my dad.
Yeah.
So I'm happy about that. I had a lot, he super influential. Like, when you think about dads, like, for certain people are like or moms, parents, are they the most influential people in your life? Like, over anybody.
I mean, they can be. I think
Not
they're.
everybody's obviously,
Yeah.
but
I think their words hold more weight than others
yeah,
because you have like this just innate like feeling that you have to listen to what they're telling you.
yeah.
You
It's
know,
different. It's
it's
different.
yeah, and then you reach a certain point in life. This is kind of what I got to enjoy with my dad. And when he passed, I remember like telling people like, "Nah, I'm good with like." I remember thinking that I'd be like completely destroyed when he died, and there came a point in my life where I was like, my dad is no longer my father; he's my peer. Mentally. There'd be things and mistakes that he make in life, and I was like, "Oh, what are you doing, dude?
Yeah,
You really kind of like you." I almost like saw where my dad stopped maturing in life. I was like, "Ah, you stayed at like 23, like that, like you never
yeah,
made it past 23, huh? Like
yeah,
that's crazy. Like you still have a mentality of a 23-year-old,
yeah,
or like, but the responsibilities obviously of an older man.
right.
So it's just kind of like crazy to like you can't do that, dude. Like
Yeah,
why aren't you like
yeah,
you can't let this kind of stuff slide. And then me as an adult understanding like the magnitude of how important certain things are. That like you got to file certain things, you got to take care of certain things. Like you can't let this slide because then it's gonna cause more problems down the way. Like your Medicare. Like because like he retired, so like he had a lot of stuff where it was like he didn't have health insurance from a company anymore that was being supplied, so he had to go through like Social Security and stuff like that. And I'm just kind of like, dude, you got to get the ball rolling. It's not something that's just gonna be like, oh, automatically like you're good.
yeah,
Like, and he's just like, oh, I just don't want to deal with it. I'm just like,
yeah,
dude, you're just like a kid. You're
yeah,
like a
yeah.
teenager. Like,
No, I hear you. Yeah.
yeah, it's like there came a point, and I don't like thinking of it as like where I had to parent my dad,
Mhm.
but there became a point where like at a maturity level, I felt like I was his equal, and I got to experience my dad as a peer towards the end of his life, where I was happy that I didn't feel like I was left with anything else that he needed to teach me as a man or to be a man.
Yeah.
Like I had
Yeah. Got the messages already.
exactly now we're just two men going through life and trying to figure shit out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As opposed to like, hey dad, like, hey, this whole pandemic thing's really messing me up. Or like, hey dad, like, I don't know what to do about this. Or like what we're going through right now. It's
It's like
like,
hitting up your homie.
yeah,
Yeah.
where it's like,
But like in a good way though.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's like I wouldn't be looking at him to give me advice, but almost just to empathize with me and just be like, "Yeah, man, I've been there."
Yeah, I
Like, you know
feel
what I
you,
mean?
dog.
I
Yeah.
know, like, you gotta just keep going, and just kinda, like, give you those words of encouragement.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Um, I look for my dad I look for, like, what he would say in times like now or, um, just with anything, uh, related to my personal life. I always think, like, what would my dad think right now
Right.
about what I'm doing? Um, but at the same time, my dad was super supportive.
Yeah.
So, I feel like I make decisions for myself, best what's best for me, and I feel like, man, my dad probably would've told me something different, and I would probably still did what I wanted to do,
Right.
and then he would've supported me after the fact.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's the type of person my dad was. He would offer his for sure, his piece. Like, my dad's definitely gonna offer his piece
Right.
without even you asking for it. My dad was that type of guy. But, I was still able to do myself. My dad still gave me a lot of freedom too. Like, my dad was super strict growing up, I would say. I wouldn't say super strict 'cause I knew that parents were stricter,
Uh-huh.
but my dad definitely had a way, he wanted things done in the house, and, uh, I respected it though. You
Right.
know what I mean? I think it made me the man I am today. So, I did listen to my dad. I would say I was a good kid.
Right.
So, I never had problems with my pops like that. So I respected everything he said. I respected how he wanted things done. So I say that to say, like, now that I'm doing things the way I want to be done, and as a grown man, I feel like when my dad passed, it's like almost a passing of the torch type thing.
Right.
Um, I felt like I was actually thinking about this. I was still trying to impress my pops.
Right.
Um, I was still trying to. It was somebody I was still trying to please, or I wanted him to be proud,
Right.
as any son would feel. But now that he's gone, I feel like, uh, I still wanna make my mom proud. I still wanna make my mom happy, and things like that. But I feel like there's no man, if that makes
Right,
sense.
right,
There's
right,
no
right.
man in front of me
Right.
where I'm looking at for approval,
Right.
or I'm trying to please or impress. That's like that's how I feel.
Right.
Like,
There's no,
I'm the
like,
top dog. Like,
mentor.
you
Yeah,
know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah, no mentor nor
yeah,
idol
yeah.
that
That's
you're
how I
trying to,
feel.
like, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like, I don't have anything to prove to anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I think before my dad passed, I was still trying to prove stuff to him.
Right,
He
right, right.
was
For
the
sure.
only I mean, like, and that's weird concept that I thought about. Like I said, I was thinking about this, like, I think maybe 2 days ago. Like, doesn't like I'm not even doing anything for anybody anymore. I'm doing it for my kids.
Right.
I guess you could say one in that one aspect, I do things for my kids. I gotta support them and make sure they're good, but it's different.
You're not looking for
I'm
their approval.
Yeah, I'm not looking for approval.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean?
You're doing it as a support,
Yeah,
as I need to
yeah.
do that. This is my obligation,
Mhm.
as opposed to, like, man, I hope my girls are really proud of me. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
yeah,
or like, if your girls come in, and I'm sure there's a certain point in life where your daughters will get to an age where they tell you, like, wow, dad, like, I'm really, like, proud of you, or I'm really, like,
yeah.
like, you, where they tell you how much they appreciate you, where you'll get that kind of, like, okay, like,
This is what I'm doing it
I
for.
did good.
Yeah,
Yeah, this
yeah.
was what it was all for.
This was all it's for.
But yeah, you definitely lose that kind of North Star of, like, I'm doing, I think that's kind of what it is. You start realizing that, like, a lot of the shit you do in life, you do it to, like, impress your North Star, and, like, that may be your father, that may be, like, somebody that, like, was a mentor to you, or someone that's, like, just, like, someone you're just kind of infatuated with, like, if, like, say you're a ball player, and then you make it to the, like, big leagues, and then, like, you meet your idol, and you're like, man, I want to
Yeah,
impress him, you
yeah.
know, things like that. But
Why do you say I know what a North Star means, like, reference, but why do you say that? Is that, like, a popular reference? I don't know if I've ever heard, like,
I don't know.
North Star.
I just I used it just in the reference of, like, something to guide you and strive for.
But
You know what I mean?
that's funny because I tell my kids when my kids see pictures of them, "Where is that Papa Hero?" "Yeah, it's Papa Hero." "Where's Papa Hero at?" Like, I always tell him he's in the stars.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like the North Star,
Yeah, yeah,
little
yeah.
correlation there. That's funny you said that. But yeah, like I said, like I think a lot of that, my dad passing that year, it was like a graduation almost.
Yeah,
I know it's weird probably to think about like that, but I have thought about it like that before. Just I became a new man.
yeah,
I evolved that day too. And I told him one of the last things I told my dad. I mean, if he heard me or not, it's nice to think that he could, but if he heard me or not is unknown.
right,
I told him like I got it.
right,
Like, I'm gonna
yeah,
take care of it. I'm gonna take care of business. I'm gonna take care of everything. Don't worry about it. You did good. Like you did great.
right,
I got it now. That's the last things I was telling my pops. Like in that hospital room, like, okay, say your goodbyes. Everybody walks out. It's just me and my pops. I'm crying, kissing him on his forehead. I got it, pops. I love you. Things like that. And it felt like that. Looking back at it, I don't know if it felt like that back then, but it felt like it later. And
yeah.
now I'm really able 4 years later, almost 4 years later, I'm really kind of grasping it because I just told you I was thinking about this the other day. I don't know if I really thought about it in this sense deeply, thoroughly, like I graduated, because
Right,
now I feel like, yeah, I told you, like, I'm doing it for me now,
right,
you know?
right.
I'm racing myself now. I'm not, but I don't think it's funny I say that. I don't think it was a competition. I was never like racing my dad, or there's no competition. I know a lot of sons probably do feel like that,
Yeah,
but I never felt like that. But you know how you just have like a guide on the racetrack
yeah.
sometimes. Now
It's
I'm
a
out there.
barometer.
I'm the
It's a
lead car
barometer of
now.
like
Yeah,
this. I mean, this is a man to me.
yeah,
Like this
yeah,
is what I know what a man is.
yeah,
Like I have no other barometer of telling me what a man is. Like I have friends that like, okay, or I might see like I might have met your dad and been like, your dad is dope. You know what I mean? Like, damn, like I wish my dad was like that.
yeah.
You might have that kind of vibe, but forever your barometer is like your parents or your
Mhm,
father. You know what I mean? I don't know if it worked for women the same way, but for definitely for men, I think
mhm.
that's your barometer is like this is what I know what a man is based off of who my father is
Right.
or who he was. And I'm either gonna surpass that as a man. And my goal is to it's funny because like there's a saying where it's like the only man that will ever be proud or want you to be better than them is your father. Every other man that you do something that you strive more and you do better, they're always gonna be either like contentious or like they're always gonna look at you in a way where they're
Yeah.
gonna be like envious of you or jealous
Alpha
of you.
shit. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Your father's the only one that wants you to be better than he was and like has no problem with like because he then can take pride in like it's my boy or that's my girl. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
I did
that's
this. I
I
made
did
this.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the next lineage of what I the torch that I carry.
Yeah. No, no,
You
for
know.
sure. Um, and then yeah, going off of that, if that's where the bar is, the barometer of who a man is to me, now that the man is passed from Earth, I'm the man,
Right.
and I think that it's like a healthy confidence,
Right.
and I think it's like a healthy confidence that a lot of men might not ever feel, based on their situation with their pops, like I think that's really important for me, and like in terms of my progression, you
Yeah.
know, uh, because I had to graduate,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Or might not even be ready to handle.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
like you said, like it's a rite of passage. Where like now looking back, almost 4 years, you look back and you sit there and you think like the man I am today is not the man I was at the hospital that day.
mm,
You know, nor would you have been the man you are today had it not been for that day.
yeah.
You know, or the days following that. And it's like
The fact that I sat in the hospital with him for like his last couple days of life, it was like it's one of the craziest times in my life. You know what I
right,
mean? Because I'm in like this uncertain purgatory in that room
right,
of what's next. I've never been faced with that question, with it being so meaningful up until then. what's next after this man passes. It's kind of like you have to, like I was an adult at that point. I already had kids. I was already living outside the house,
Right.
but it's like you have to kind of grow up again,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, it's the next level of maturity.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, you can be an adult.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyone's an adult.
Yeah.
You can have kids at
Yeah.
16, be an adult at 18, and you're an adult. But you reach levels of maturity like another saying is that your first kid watches you grow up. Your second kid, you get to actually parent,
Mhm.
and your third kid gets like the full benefit of like being, you know,
Yeah.
parented by parents that know what they're doing. But
Yeah.
the first baby, the first one you have, they kind of grow with you because it's all new to you, and you're figuring that shit out just as much as they're trying to figure out their life. So they grow with you. You know, there's a certain level of maturity that happens in that. But by the time you're done,
I wonder if that goes the same for like me and my kids because they're so close in age. Are they both watching me grow up? Like my second kid doesn't really have that benefit of reaping the
I mean,
parenting.
do you feel like you parent each of them differently in certain aspects?
Certain aspects, I just, yeah, because of the age difference. But I feel like that age difference gets smaller as they get older.
Right, right,
You know what I mean? They're
right,
15 months apart. So by the time, a couple years from now, they're going to be 15 months apart on the calendar and, mentally a little, but I mean, at what point you're only a year apart from
right.
somebody. You're like the
Exactly.
same age.
At what point does maturity level catch up?
Yeah.
You know, and I think like the best way to kind of like answer that question would be like maybe the first 2 years of your second daughter's life, you probably already knew what to expect.
Mhm.
So there was already a kind of like a calm or like it should
Yeah,
be
that's
all
true.
right,
That's true.
as opposed to
That's
the
true.
first one, like she trips and falls, like, oh,
Yeah,
oh,
no,
oh,
that's true.
and then the other one,
Yeah.
you give a little bit more freedom,
Yeah.
and it may not be a drastic change in how you parent them, but there's already a pre-acquired knowledge of like what to expect.
Yeah.
Like when she gets a fever, like with my son, this last year, it's been like cold after cold after cold, and it's been like there's times where we rush to the ER or the urgent care. And we're like, his fever's this and that, and then we're just kind of like, it's just kind of how it is. Like,
Yeah.
he's in preschool now or he's
Yeah.
doing schooling. This is it. So
Yeah.
we're like, okay. So now the next time it's like, oh, his fever's this. Okay, let's do this, this, that. So okay, we know what to do. We know what to expect. But when you don't know what to expect, your mind starts to race. You go into a tailspin until somebody tells you like, nah, this is what it
Chill. Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Like, chill. It's normal.
Yeah.
You're not dealing with anything abnormal. He's not in a place where he's gonna be like in any kind of dire situation. Like you
Mhm.
guys good and what you guys did was right, but just understand that this is just the process.
And bringing it back to my dad, thinking about when you're saying that, I don't have my dad to tell me that type of
Right,
thing. I have my mom.
right,
I have my sister who raised her kids and family all around me. But I know my dad's input on that type of stuff
right,
would have for sure been would have spoke volumes to me. It's like, hey, don't worry about it. You
right,
know what I mean? This is part of being a parent. This is part of having kids. This is how kids are.
right,
So, that's my mom tells me stuff like that too, and
right.
I respect it too because she raised me. She raised my sister. But I just know on a man to man type thing,
Even
what
the
can I
delivery,
expect?
yeah,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
exactly. It's different
yeah, yeah,
deliveries.
yeah,
It's different deliveries. It's different people telling you,
yeah.
and both of those people play different parts in your life.
Right,
So you know
exactly.
what to expect from your mom. You know what you're getting from your dad,
Right,
and now I just don't have that component anymore. I
right,
still have that motherly component
right,
to get things from. I just don't have that fatherly component anymore. So now, since I don't have that component, I'm making it up,
right,
or I'm not even making it up. I'm imagining it.
right,
Like I'm imagining what the input would have been.
right.
So, but that's all based off me.
Yeah, off a feel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
and there's gonna be a time where you're just gonna like, I think that's how my dad would have handled this.
yeah.
Like that totally seems like something my dad would have done.
My dad was funny, man. He used to
Yeah,
like take my phone. He used to like not take my phone, take my sister's house phone. Cause she'd be when she'd be in trouble or something. Take her house phone, rip it out the wall, put it in the closet. My dad was cool, man. My dad was old school. Um, yeah, that's crazy.
yeah,
It's crazy thinking about that as 4 years ago now. Like,
right.
'cause I can remember so vividly in that hospital room, that moment on the couch I just described. That's all so vivid. It's in color, man. It's in
High def.
yeah,
Yeah.
5K, like,
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah.
Like,
Definitely.
it's crazy. It's
Yeah.
crazy, like, to think about, like, do those memories fade, slowly? 'Cause sometimes I think about stuff when I'm a kid and it's not as impactful as those moments I'm telling you about, but I can't even think about some of that stuff, and I feel like that day with my dad and those days in the hospital and that week and the service for him was a week after he passed and things like that. It was all up. We wanted to do it before Thanksgiving because we didn't want everybody to,
Right.
then we don't want to wait after Thanksgiving. So
Yeah, there was a realization that I had shortly after my dad passed where I was like, you're going through the emotions, you're going through the grieving process, and I was like, and it was just like I've I've seared in and locked in all the memories that I have of my dad, and I'm not gonna make a new memory with my dad anymore.
yeah,
So now it's just a matter of those memories slowly as time goes by starting to deteriorate.
yeah,
And there's like a real angst that you get from it where you're like, fuck, I don't want to I don't want to forget any of these memories, but I know that that's it. There's not going to be any more memories after this. You know what I mean? So now it's just memories with other people, and you hope that you're more present with those memories that you make with other people and your kids and stuff like that. But it was just kind of like, so now it's just like, it's almost like having like a collection, like a shoe collection, and you know that like I have these and I'm preserving them as much as I can, but they're going to deteriorate after
yeah,
time, and it's like they're not going to hold the same value that they once did.
yeah,
And they're gonna start to distort, and like that's the thing. It's like the vivid, like I remember, it's forever gonna be, and I remembered it because like things like 9/11 happened, and I remember I was like, oh shit, this is one of those times. I had a realization, I had like an epiphany of like, shit, this is one of those times that I'm gonna remember forever. This is one like, you talk about Pearl Harbor, like people remembering Pearl Harbor stuff. I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna remember everything I did because this is so impactful. The day my dad passed, I was like, oh fuck, this is one of those memories.
hmm
This is gonna be one of those memories that I'm gonna forever remember how this night played out. And it's just crazy to think that. And as time goes by, I know it's gonna distort and it's gonna deteriorate a little bit, but yeah, it's forever gonna be. It's crazy how your mind works, where just trauma sears
definitely,
those memories into your head.
definitely.
That's all the time we got for tonight or for today, for whatever. Thank you guys for sticking around. If you stuck around, I want to thank Jason for coming by. And this is not the last time you'll see Jason, I guarantee you. We got other stories that we want to share.
A lot. Thank you, man.
Yeah, thank
Appreciate
you.
it, brother.
All right, see you guys. Shoot.
And I'm in down.